What's up? I'm back. Okay, so the Memory, Sorrow, Thorn epic fantasy series from the early 90s by Tad Williams is perhaps my second favorite book series of all time. It's it's a masterpiece fantasy. It's epic, heroic, medieval fantasy. Very much like few books come close to being as good as The Lord of the Rings. In some ways, this book, I think this series is better than The Lord of the Rings. If I'm not mistaken, it inspired such great names in the fantasy literature as George Martin, Brandon Sanderson, Robin Hobb, and Robert Jordan, and others, um, for a reason. So, what in a nutshell, because this is, I'm gonna try to just condense. Like I could talk about this book for hours. I'm just gonna try to condense it into a short summary of like why you should read this, why it's good. It's taking all the familiar classic fairy tale epic fantasy tropes like the chosen one hero, the dark lord, the likable sidekick characters, the wiped out, mysterious hidden epic background races, the curses in the earth, or the setting, monsters, various cursed objects, the three swords, memory, sorrow, and thorn. Um, the displaced people trying to reclaim their kingdom, the wicked king who's seduced by evil slowly by sorcery, um, the evil wizard, the good wizard, like pretty much every single important trope is done. It's like a master class, perfect example of all of those tropes in a way that's comforting, that makes you realize like maybe this isn't cliche. You like to see some of these story beats. At least I do. I can't even describe how good it is. So some of the things that make this world, this setting, and come to life in the gradual character catharsis, the character development is spot on. Is just the realization of the world, which at times it feels like so well visualized, cinematic, theatrical almost. The world building is deep and rich and complex. There are deeper, richer, more complex fantasy universes in literature, but it's still very good. But that's not what I would say makes it unique. It's the artistic stylization, the rendering made possible by very beautiful prose that's balanced between not being too poetic, but poetic enough to call, I would call like fine art almost, and conventional. So the plot moves at a steady enough pace. It doesn't quite put you to sleep, but more like into a state of attentive restfulness, like somewhere between being asleep and awake, where you can really have a visionary experience that you're not going to forget. More than any other book series I've ever read to this point in my life. I solemnly swear that it was incredible. A very like actually bewitching, like enchanting experience that feels like spirits from the other side inspired Tad Williams to write this or something. That reminds me of another point. Another thing that makes the series special is the world of Ostenard, somewhat similar to Middle Earth. A lot of what has to do with the plot, without giving anything away, and the whole hidden epic, is this idea of energy having a sort of ripple across time effect from very significant people that stacked sorcerous power, so to say, and all of the curses in people that were genocided in the past are wiped out. And it's very eerily, symbolically reminiscent, probably inspired by past Native American cultures and peoples and civilizations, especially the Scythi, for example, very elf-like races, and the Norns. It reminds me of past civilizations like the Incas, the Mayans, the Aztecs, and Native American tribes and such like that. And I absolutely love that. I could get I could read a million books just in the world of Ostenard alone for all of its interesting, rich mysteries, and that's like by the beginning, from the beginning of the book to the end, the characters change and mature so much and become so much better people by having to concern themselves with the troubles of other people from other cultures unlike their own, and that what they learn from those people and what they bring back to their own kingdom, so to say, by the end, is something that's just, it's borderline a religious experience. It's very spiritual. It's got the word angel in the title, for crying out loud. I mean, Yeah. You got this beautiful cover art from Michael Whalen, who really only made art for like the best of the best, for the most part. Um, this is as good as it gets with epic heroic fantasy. Now, some of the no, before I say that, another thing I really like, a subtle detail. Williams writes medieval combat and violence really well. Very non-romantic. It's sudden, unfair, brutal, ugly, and tragic. When action does appear, it's memorable for that reason, and that just adds another layer of the immersive quality that I prize the most when rating a book. So, unlike any other book, this book series has got me way into the world and grounded it so well that although some book series have better character development, this was more effective for what it did offer, so it makes it better altogether in that way. And that's just how I work as a reader. That might not be it might not be everybody's favorite, but it's what works for me. It's why it was so effective for me. Just the way I read is the way this guy writes. It's exactly what I like. Almost, because the one of the few drawbacks is that while I was sort of gaslighting myself into thinking I like slow burn, and I had patience with the first and second book, but by the third one, I got to admit it tends to drag with huge sections that make you wonder, like, was this side quest with like characters like Eolair, for example, or the Dueros? It was so tedious. It slowed down the adrenaline and the momentum that tried to carry me through to an otherwise flawless ending, and a lot of it just doesn't seem to have mattered. So it does get a bit frustrating. I say that like it the third book actually drags. The first two books almost drags, but it adds to the overall immersive quality because there are, like real life, there are slow sections in adventures. There's times where they're just journeying. Not a lot is happening, but that adds to the realism. So therefore strengthens inadvertently the character development, which makes the whole catharsis, emotional satisfaction of the ending more impactful by the end. But the third book, it's too long. You could have cut off like 400, I don't know, 300 pages. I don't know. I mean, I say that, but it's still worth it to power through it to get to the end, because although okay, you see there's so many tropes in the story. You see the gist of the ending from a million miles away. It's easy to predict, but there's enough surprises there, and the execution is so incredible that there's a lot that it still feels new. So Tad Williams is pretty much a master, like a wizard of writing these tropes, these classic fantasy tropes of like good versus evil, etc. And it's comforting. It's comforting, like the Legend of Zelda is comforting. It's like there's something just timeless and pure about these things, and very few books I can actually recommend to anyone of all ages. There's nothing in this book outrightly terrible or like it just it's almost like up there with like Chronicles of Narnia or something. It's in a category of like borderline recommend to like religious or spiritual or Christian people. However, there is some horror. I should warn you. It's basically not really for small children. Yeah, the horror is good, but it's not like soul crushing horror. Anyway, this is about as close to like what this is to music. It would be a symphony. What most commercial fantasy these days is to music would be like rap or something this cheap and not comparable. Now, if you don't have the patience or the guts to power through an experience that requires a lot of patience and attentive, like time consuming, a little bit of intellect, this book will put you to sleep in a bad way. And if it's not for you, that's fine. But I like the challenge of it, and I found it more rewarding being longer than a lot of book series out there. So for all of these amazing little components, it comes together to make like one of the most satisfying reading experiences I've ever had in my life. One that's memorable for having been at times painful. Um, Memory, sorrow, thorn. One more thing I want to say. A major theme is pain and sorrow and suffering, depression, and the slow periods. There's slow, torturous periods. Some of the crucibles that the characters have to go through ground their realism even more in a way that homages real life, and there's something very Christian about that. It reminds me of the crucifixion. It reminds me of things like that, the sufferings, the sorrows of Christ, especially in characters like Joshua and Simon and Miriam El. I don't know if they're saying their names right, but because their pronunciation and spelling is weird, but who cares? But it's that at first that almost took me out of liking the book, but as by the end of it, it really grew on me. I felt changed, and I felt made a better person for reading this book, empowering through this book series. It took me like a year to read this. I'm embarrassed to admit that. The third book really drags. It's still worth getting through. Highly recommend this book series. It'll bring hope into your mind. It's visually just enchanting. It's comforting. It feels heavenly in a way, and I can't wait to read more Williams books. Check this out. I found this The War of the Flowers, another fantasy book by Tad Williams, which is huge, from 2003, for $2 in my local library, and it's a perfectly preserved copy that traveled through time and space to get to me now. It's awesome. And also, I'm really excited to read the Otherland sci-fi series that has fantasy themes as well. And I'll tell you what I think of that. But I wish I would have. I'm making this video largely because I wish I would have discovered Tad Williams when I was much younger, so I could have be caught up with his bibliography, because he's wrote a lot of huge books, but they're all, as far as I can tell, high quality. They're known for more grounded experiences, more mature, more intellectual, requires more patience, but there's better payoff by the end, better ideas, more realistic. It's just the world building is so, everything about it is just perfect. It's everything I like in one book series. So I think he might, he might be my favorite author. I don't know. I don't know if this is my favorite book series, but it's in my top 10 for sure. It might be my second favorite book series right now. Like, if I had to choose, not many books have made me feel a genuine feeling of joy and hope from the profundity of my soul by having so many. He turns cliches into ideals. That's what I would call it. And I think that I'm a little bit biased because my personality is just a certain way, where it just so happens all these little qualities of this book's come together to make the perfect storm of what I find appealing. It might not be the same with other people. A lot of people don't have this autistic level of patience that I do for a commitment like this, that are willing to sacrifice freaking 80 hours of your life for this several thousand page long book series. But that does read slow as well, so to make it even longer. So, but I like the challenge of that, and so it's worth it. It's like a high adventure hiking experience compared to most other fantasy, feeling like the Cub Scouts by comparison. It's not for everybody, but those that go upon the arduous journey of Ostenard are bound to be extremely richly rewarded by an unforgettable experience. Yes, read it. It's good.